Okay. Hey guys, my name is Zach Stoner, and this is a video on how to create the BAP-GPT, or I guess in essence it's a multi-PDF kind of RAG LLM with a Google API attached onto it for real-time updates. I guess that would be like the way to explain it, but to me and you, this is BAP-GPT. So, I guess if you're new to coding, just follow exactly what I'm doing, I would say, to a T. I'm gonna do everything as if I have nothing on my computer and I'm downloading it from step one. So yeah, I would say just follow everything I'm doing step by step. There are a couple prerequisites here. The first of which is going to be download VS Code, have that installed. It's an application by Microsoft, Visual Studio Code, not to be confused with Visual Studio. We are working in Visual Studio Code, VSCODE. And that's going to be our code editor. Make sure to have that downloaded and installed. It's free from Microsoft. Number two is Python. We want Python installed on our machine. It is free through the Microsoft Store if you have Microsoft. If you don't, if you have Apple, watch a YouTube video. There's a lot out there. You want to get that installed on your computer so everything works fine. Other than those two prerequisites, I'm going to be taking you from kind of start to finish here. So let's dive right into it. First things first, we can do a little bit of an explanation onto the logic. Here, I guess, we'll just jump right into it. So when the application loads, immediately, without the user doing anything, it's going to pull a Google Cloud Development API. That's going to go through a shared Google Sheets, I presume, presumably with all the officers kind of updating the schedule. That Google Sheets information is going to be extracted from the Google Sheets, converted to a PDF, along with other PDFs already attached, such as national policies and procedures, chapter-specific policies and procedures, other things like that. Those pieces of information are going to be split up into smaller text chunks. I'll show you once we get into the code, but you can even adjust how big and how small those text chunks are, and kind of play around with the, what would it be? It would be like the efficacy of the size of the text chunks along with overlapping of said text chunks so no information is missed. Right now I think we're at 500 character text chunks, no, 500 word text chunks with 100 word overlap in between. Then all of these chunks of text are going to be embedded by GPT's embeddings. This stuff, don't have too sound of an understanding on, so I can't explain it too much. But from what I do understand, embeddings are a numeric representation of the meaning of a word based on context. So if we think of, I guess the simplest way to put it would be, if you think of a graph, like a 2D graph, X and Y, and you have milk up here in the top left corner, and then you have a sofa down here, they're going to have two very different embedding numeric values. But if you have milk up in the top left corner, and then let's say you have cream, they don't share a single letter, but they are going to be very close to each other due to the fact that the meaning of the words are not too dissimilar. That's, I guess, my understanding on embeddings. Those are all going to be stored in vector storage. The user is going to ask a question to the application by typing it. GPT is also going to embed that question. It's going to perform a semantic search and pull out ranked results. From the ranked results, we are going to pick the top result, and the LLM is going to spit out an answer, hopefully, that is, the answer to the user's question. That is the kind of cut and dry, simple logic behind this application, and now we can get into building it. So, step number one is going to be to create a GitHub account. create a GitHub account, very important, good to have. And the first thing we are going to do here, I think, yeah, the first thing we're going to do here is go to this URL. It's going to be in the description of this video. If it's not, it's just that URL right here, the one you're seeing, GitHub. //x.air13/public BAP-GPT, and the page is going to look exactly like this. What we're going to do from here is go to this bright green code button, click that, and copy this URL, which is the exact same URL that's up here. Next thing we are going to do is open up VS Code. Okay. Yeah, next thing we're going to do is open up VS Code. Should look something like this. Let me full screen this. And then from VS Code, we're going to go over to source control right here on the left side here, and click clone repository. Provide URL, we just copy that, paste that in, hit enter. So this is going in, oh, I guess we got to pick a location first. So this isn't super important here. Once the app is up and running, you're not going to have this on your computer anymore, or you're free to delete it rather. I'm just going to go to desktop. We'll create a folder called video example create, and now we're in that, and we can select this new folder as our repository destination. So we will click that. It's cloning everything. Do we want to open it? Yes, we do. Okay, so we aren't done with GitHub just yet. Again, you need to have a GitHub account. So if you haven't created one already, go ahead and create one. We're going to go back to that GitHub, and in our account here, on the top right, we're just going to click your repositories. Then we're going to create one in our own individual GitHub account. So you can name this whatever you want, just remember the name. We'll do BAP-GPT. Is available, description not super important. README, I've included one in mine, you don't need that. Ignore, included one in mine, you don't need that. No license required. So just from here, we can click create repository. Now this is an empty repository, and these next couple steps are very important. So yeah, just follow along pretty much exactly. What we are going to do is go back to Visual Studio Code. We're going to open up terminal, open up a new terminal, and then we are going to, you're going to put in these prompts exactly, and they are as follows. First things first, you need to go, well, I guess, yeah, we're going to copy this URL to the Git you just created, the brand new one. We're going to copy this URL. Then we're going to go over to VS Code, and we are going to, where does my, oh, I see. Let me get this out of the way here, sorry. Okay, yeah. You are going to go over to VS Code, and in this terminal here we just created, I'm going to type this exactly, rm space dash rf space period git. And what that's doing is deleting any connection that it had previously with any Git account. So once that is in, you can see there's no Git main anymore. So we are not connected to any Git account. Then we are going to do this. We're going to click git init git initialize, or git init, enter. So that's now initialized. Then we are going to do git add period, enter. So all of our changes are now added to our new Git. Then we are going to do git commit -m quote, and you can put whatever message you want in here, but there needs to be one. So we will just do creating Git quote, enter. And then we're going to do git remote add origin. And at the end of this, we're going to paste the URL we copied from the Git repository you just created on your own Git account. So again, that's going to be the one you just made, the brand new one with no code in it. We called it BAP-GPT, not the one we copied, not the one you cloned, but the one you just made. And you're going to take that URL and just Control V at the end of that, at the end of git remote add origin. If you can't Control V, some terminals won't let you, type it manually, make sure there's no typos, and hit enter. So now we are connected to our new Git repo and not the old public one, and we need to push all of the changes. If you're interested in how Git works, it's a super handy thing. And you should watch some YouTube videos on it. It's kind of complicated, but very, very helpful if you're trying to get into coding. So I would recommend thoroughly research Git. Either way, we're pushing this to the main Git branch. Enter. All of that's done. So if we go back to our GitHub account and we click refresh here, we should see now all of these files that we just downloaded and cloned on our own individual account GitHub. So that is all good, well, and fine. And now we can move forward with what we're trying to do here, which is create the chatbot. Let me go over to my steps and see where we're at. Okay, great. What we're gonna do now is, I guess we can go over what we just downloaded, right? So we have a documents folder with national policies, social media policies. This one is a bit lengthy, so you can, feel free, if you don't think it's required for the information your ChatGPT needs to know, delete it. The more information in here, the more this is gonna cost you or your chapter. And then this schedule list, don't worry about that. Right now it holds nearly nothing, just an example Excel sheet I had created. And this is going to be in real time deleted and then replaced every time the app is run. So not too worried about that. You can delete it regardless. Every time the app's open, it's going to create a new one from the Excel sheet we're going to connect in this video. Next is git ignore. So everything we just pushed to our own Git, if you want it to not be pushed, you put the file name in this fancy dancy little tool here. So anything in here, at least the name of anything in here, will not get pushed to your Git when you eventually commit things to your own individual Git repo. app.py is the main code for our chatbot. I can do a breakdown of this in another video, but again, this video is just to kind of get everybody with their own chatbot in hand. If you guys really want to see how all this stuff works, happy to link a explanation video. Yeah, okay, so moving forward. HTML template, also very, very much not important, just kind of styling aspects. Feel free to mess around with these. And README is just basic explanation for the repo. I might add some more stuff in here before this goes public. And then requirements, this is important. Requirements are every package and dependency that is required for this to run. So, first thing we need to do is create a virtual environment so we can get it set up with some local development. What we are going to do here, and again, follow quite closely, step by step, type Python -m venv space venv. So we are making a virtual environment called virtual environment. That's what it translates to. When I press enter, up here in this repo, there will be another folder created automatically that is our virtual environment. enter, oh, enter, and yep, there it is. There's our virtual environment. So essentially what this is, what a virtual environment is, sorry. Okay, so what a virtual environment is a box, essentially. It's going to be like a location for all these dependencies to be downloaded in, so they're not just downloaded randomly across your computer. And I guess when you delete this project as a whole, all dependencies are going to be deleted as well, kind of keeping things clean, not cluttered, excuse me. And it's just best practice in terms of development. So all these things you can see that we have like little autocorrect kind of spell check underlines, basically showing error. It's because we need to install all of these dependencies. So what we're going to do again down here in the terminal is activate our virtual environment. So we created one, but now we need to activate it. For Mac, it's going to be source venv/bin/activate. Microsoft's going to have a different one. Mac is going to have a different one. What you want to do is just ChatGPT how to activate a virtual Python environment in Windows. And it should pop right up. Let me see if I can find it for you. Yes. So what is going to be on Windows is venv/scripts/activate. That's the command. So on Mac we have source venv bin activate. On Windows, just venv scripts activate, and with a slash in between those. It's going to look. Let me just activate mine. No such. Oh, it's because I did active and not activate. Okay. Source venv/bin/activate. Okay, so now we can see we have this little venv, or whatever the name of our virtual environment is, behind our username. That means it's activated. That's all good, well and fine. For Windows, it's going to look like this. That's not correct. venv scripts activate, and this is what you're going to put in if you're on Windows right here. But because we're not, we don't need to worry about it, and we already activated ours here on Mac. So we're moving forward. The next step, now that it is created and activated our virtual environment, we're going to install these dependencies. So we're going to type pip install -r requirements.txt. And once we hit enter, all of the requirements previously listed in here are going to be required to downloaded to our virtual environment. So we hit enter, and now it should be doing that. Yeah, this might take a little bit of time, but while that's happening, let's do something else. So while this is all downloading, and you look like a cybersecurity guy for the CIA, as your computer goes crazy, we are going to go over to our OpenAI, because we need an API key. And we're going to go to openai.com, go to products, API login. API. And on the left here, first and foremost, if you don't have an account, make an account. If you're making one for your chapter, make one for your chapter. But regardless, we do need one, and whoever's going to be paying for these API calls, again, not very, very expensive at all, but they do cost something, they do cost money. You're going to have a card linked up. So once you get all your account made and your card linked up, go to API keys, and we are going to go to the top right hand corner, and click Create New Secret Key. We can call it whatever we want. BAP-GPT2. It's just for tracking of GPT, or of secret keys, because again, this does cost money. And we're going to create the secret key. Now this is only going to be shown to you once, so make sure to copy it. You won't be able to view it again. Yeah, that's all this is saying. If you lose it, no big deal. It doesn't cost anything to generate a key, but it does cost money to use a key. So if you do by chance you don't click copy, or somehow you lose this API key, just go into the account, delete it. Not a big deal at all. What you don't want though is to share this key with other people, because again, this key is directly linked to your account. Therefore, your credit card, anyone who has this key can call API requests that will charge to your credit card. So make sure to keep this kind of, secure is the word I was looking for. Now that we have that copied, we're going to go to VS Code. That is the wrong VS Code, excuse me. Oh, no, it's not. That is the right VS Code. Pull this up. All this is done. No issues here. Just check, make sure there's no issues. No, it doesn't look like it is, but it is plain English. So successfully installed. Yep. Installing and successfully installed. No unsuccessful installations, so we move forward. We are going to go up here. Now that we have our API key, we're going to left click and click New Folder. And here we are going to do period Streamlit. Enter. Very important, we call this .streamlit and nothing else. In that folder, we're going to create a file. This file is going to be called secrets.toml. Yes, secrets.toml. Enter. There should be a little gear if you did it correctly. These two names are very, very important. Don't change those names. Again, only for local development, excuse me. These won't be pushed up to the Git repository thanks to our git ignore file. In this, again, very important you follow this, word for word. We're going to do not curly bracket, just regular bracket, and we're going to type OpenAI, one word. If I can type one word, all lowercase, enter. And we're going to do API key equals quotation marks, go inside the quotation marks, and then paste the API key we just copied. This is giving our application a reference point to the API key. And once that's finished, let's go ahead and click Save All. And we can move forward. Okay, so that is the OpenAI API key done. We have our local development environment all completed, and we have all of our dependencies installed. From here, we are going to work on our Google API. I know it doesn't feel like it, but we are almost done. Kind of, sort of. Let me pull up my steps here. Yes, all done. Okay, so now we're moving on to the Google API, which is great. We're going to pull up, I think I already had a browser, sure did. We're going to pull up, new tab, Google. Actually, what is that URL? Sorry, bear with me here. I'm trying to do this all in one take, just because I know video editing can be quite time consuming. Okay, yeah, console.cloud. There it is. Google console cloud. Enter. Should be this one, yes. Google Cloud Console. So here you're going to want to do this through your whatever Google account is linked up to your Beta Alpha Psi account, because this, you are gonna, once you are no longer an officer anymore or no longer in Beta Alpha Psi, you're just doing this out of the kindness of your heart. Somebody else needs to kind of keep up with it, so you want to make this available for everybody. So what we need to do now is, I guess if we're starting from the top, let's go, we want to create a new project because you guys won't have anything created yet. So we want new project, enter. Project name, doesn't really matter. We're going to do BAP-GPT 2. No organization. Great. So now that is, should be created. Oh, working on it. Creation in progress. Okay. So it is created currently. Make sure we are in this project, in our Google account. Then we're going over here, going to APIs and services, enabled APIs and services. There should be almost none. Okay. So now we need to enable API and services, and we're going to go over here and search Sheets. Enter. Google Sheets API. Now we need to click here and click enable. Once we click enable, it will then turn to manage. So it's done loading. Okay, so just again, if you didn't see it, we go over to Sheets. Eventually, Google Sheets API, and we clicked enable, and then that turns to manage, and then we click manage, and now we are here. If you clicked enabled, it probably just auto-populated you to here, like it did to me the first time, but just to make double, triple sure, we are now in an enabled Google Sheets API. So what we need to do from here is go over to the left-hand side and click credentials. Once we are in credentials, we need to click create credentials. API key is what we're looking for here. Oh, excuse me. I think first we need to do we need to do a service account. Excuse me. So we're going to do service count. Service count name, display name. We'll do service account. Description, not really needed. Great, and continue. Now grant this service count access to the project. Okay, so we want viewer. We don't want to actually edit anything, but we do want to be able to read it. So we're going to go and click viewer as the role and click continue. Grant user access to the service count. I don't think that's necessarily important. If you're doing this through beta, maybe connect you guys' accounts. I haven't messed with that. But so I'm just going to click done and click through. Okay. So next we need to go and click our service count. Then we go over to keys, I believe. Okay, so we created the service count. I'm a little turned around here. We are still in it. Credentials. Okay, so it was keys. Yeah, sorry. So in your service count, click keys. And then what we need to do is download the JSON key. We're going to create one, add key, key type JSON, create, private key saved to your computer. So now we are downloading our JSON key. This can be saved anywhere. I'm going to call it JSON key. And we are saving this just to our desktop for now. Save. So that's going to download, and then we can close out here. What I'm going to do now is go into VS Code, and we're going to, let me pull up my file explorer outside the viewing thing, and we're going to grab that which we just downloaded, the JSON key. And what we're going to do is very simply drag and drop that JSON key into this directory. So all I'm going to do is drop it, and now we have our key right here. This is what we just downloaded, and here's kind of the pain. What we need to do here is turn this into TOLM format. TOML, excuse me. We need to turn this to TOML format, and what that looks like is kind of a pain in the butt. We need to take this and turn it into something that looks more like this. So we go to secrets to TOML. We need to take it and turn it into something that looks like this. So this is the same information in essence. If we go here, here's the key we just downloaded, and what we need to do is, instead of having it in quotations with a colon service count, we need to have it just stated =, service count. I haven't really found a great way to do this other than just by hand, manually editing this information. I think you guys will likely have to do the same, unfortunately, but it's very, very important that it's very, very important that there are no mishaps here. There are no kind of mess ups. So what I would do is I would go in and go by hand and type bracket Google credentials. This needs to be here, very, very important. And then where it says type, I'd go type equals, and just copy this. All right, Control C up there. Enter project _ID equals, and then you come down here, you grab that, Control C, Control V, and you do that for every single one. The only time this format changes is under private key. You're going to do 3 quotation marks to start a quotation kind of area, and then drop this big old private key, and then 3 quotation marks to end it. Other than that, all very simple formatting. You're gonna have to do this by hand. Maybe if you feel like it, drop this into ChatGPT, this right here, and say, let's see, maybe we can do it. And say, turn this JSON key into TOML format. And then we Control V, the key. Not super secure, you know, ChatGPT does kind of take everybody's input, but all things considered, due to the fact that this is a schedule for And Honor Society, I don't really think there's too much that can be taken. So it looks like it's doing it pretty, yeah, looks like it's doing it pretty accurately. So if you feel like not doing it by hand, drop it into BAP-GPT, ask it for TOML format, and then we can just copy and paste this and drop it into our secrets file in VS Code. Just very, very important, make sure to have Google credentials in brackets above your TOML format. Very, very, very important. So what I'm going to do is, I guess, to make sure it works, is I will use the one that's coming out of ChatGPT. Yeah, it looks fine. I'll just copy that. Paste that under our Google credentials, and we should be in business. We're going to go over here and click Save All. And now there's a couple more things we need to do here on the Google Dev side to make things functional. First and foremost, go back to browser, get rid of this. And I think what we're going to want to do here is open up a Google Sheets. So let me just do that off screen. Okay. So here we have a Google Sheets. What we're gonna do is essentially format our Google Sheets as follows. We have event, and this is going to be our schedule, remember. We have event type, we have attending firm, we have date / time, we have location. Okay. So these are our 5 columns. Right now it's programmatically only going to pull 5 columns. And this is kind of what I have as an example, but in reality, as long as there are headers to each of the columns and information in the subsequent rows for each column, it should in theory pull everything and label everything accurately. I've tested this with a couple different things. Doesn't need to be 5 columns, doesn't need to be any amount of columns, as long as the column head is the descriptor of the information in each cell below that column, it will work accurately. Again, this is just a computer, so try and keep it kind of simple. But this is the basic layout I have for a schedule. So once we have that created, we are moving on to the next step. Let me pull up my notes here. Okay. I see, yes. So this is going to be the schedule this Sheets file. What we need to do is go back to our service account. So we're back here, go to our service account, and we need to find the email of the service account. Looks like this is it right here, but to be sure, here's the email here. So we're going to copy this. We go over to our spreadsheet. Let's name it schedule example, and then we are going to share it with the email of our service account. Click send. Guess we could have made him a viewer, but in reality, the email account only has viewing capabilities, as we stated earlier. So now that our service account, basically our API has access to the Excel sheet, we have all our dependencies, we have our local environment with said dependencies. I believe that's almost everything we need to do. Let's, just to be safe, put in some information here. just for testing purposes, really. And then what we need to do is grab our document ID. So in this URL right here, we have our Google Sheets URL. What we need to do is, after where it says D/D, every Sheets will have this in the URL. After that, so right at the 1, we're going to highlight all of this up until \edit. Up until \edit, and then we're going to copy that. So we're going to go in here, we're going to copy, and then we're going to go into our VS Code. Go into app.py in the directory, and then search down here for our ID. So it's been a little bit of time here. Sheet ID. So on line 146, we have sheet ID. We are going to paste, Control V, our sheet ID in there. And then also, forgot to mention, once we have this secrets correctly put into, the Google credentials correctly put into the secrets, we can delete this JSON key out of our directory. Yeah, we can move that, get rid of that, and then we're going to save everything. We are going to save it all. Okay. And then we can move on to the next step. I mean, now that we have everything completed, we can go in and essentially push our entire repository to the individual GitHub account that we have connected to. So remember, we made a new GitHub repo on our GitHub account and then connected to it. What we have to do now is go into source control again. We can see all the changes that we made. We're going to enter a little bit, a small message like main app creation. Click commit. Oh, first we got to stage the changes, so click this little plus sign here. Then click commit. Click publish branch. And we should be all set to go. Okay, next step is here. We are going to go to Streamlit and need you to click, I already have an account. If you don't have an account, go ahead and make one. Sign in to said account. I think it links with GitHub. I imagine it does. So you're gonna wanna link it with the GitHub account you just created, I believe. What I'm gonna do here is delete, okay. Delete. Yes. So you're going to look at a page kind of just like this. Go open to the top right and click Create App. Yes, you have an app. Remember, we just put it up on your GitHub. So in the repository, we're going to go to the GitHub we just published, copy all of this, Control C on the URL, go back to Streamlit, paste it in there. Branch is going to be the main branch, main file path. We don't have Streamlit_app, so we just have app.py. And then very important here, we're going to go into advanced settings. And what this is essentially all of the secrets that we put in the TOML file, we need to take out and then add here. So if we go to our VS Code, we're going to go over to secrets.toml, and then we're going to copy all of this. Control C, because this is a part of our git ignore, which means it didn't get pushed to the repository, so nobody else has access to our secrets, but that includes Streamlit. So we got to give them access to our secrets. So we Control V and add all of the secrets that we painstakingly hand wrote out, and we're giving this application access to this. So my Python version, you guys will probably be using 3.11. I think mine is 3.10, just because another project I was working on, I set it to the global Python to be 3.10. So I'm gonna click that. I don't think you guys need to do that, but just, line up the Python version you're using. Then we click save. So now we have our secrets in there, our repo's up to date and connected. We are going to click deploy. Okay, so it should be creating our application now. And a large reason I chose to go with something like Streamlit is it's gonna handle all the cybersecurity, right? So although there's not like a lot of super intense information or super secretive information we're sending around, we do just want to be on top of our P's and Q's and make sure that nobody's gonna have access to this if we don't want them to. Okay, so so that's why we went with Streamlit. We see this is working, this is functioning now. We built this, great job. This PDF generated and saved to documents is just proof that it is accurately using the Google API to pull that information from the Excel sheet we linked, and that information is now going to be available to BAP-GPT. And to test that, let's go to the schedule example. We have an event, a picnic, at the park. So let's see, I guess that's a little bit too easy, right? Any. So we should say, what type of event, what event type is the picnic? Click enter, and it should be, we can see it's running right here. The event is a picnic. What event type? I'll miss that. And it is scheduled for 11:10, which I believe is right. Yeah, okay, good. So let's see if we can't get it to spit out the event type. Because it should say lunch, right? The event type is lunch. So, the event is a picnic and it is a lunch event. So sometimes it might take a try or two to get the information you want. But this is now your fully functioning BAP-GPT with all of the information that you could possibly want. If you are going to upload your own PDF files here, not super complicated at all. What we want to do is we're going to go into the documents and we're going to pick a PDF file, whichever one you fancy. I have a few here we can grab. This one's quite big, so I'm not going to use that one. Okay. Alright, so yeah, I mean, this looks all pretty fine. Any PDF from here in your, in your downloads, you can just drag this and drop it into the document. So say you have chapter specific rules for your Beta Alpha Psi chapter, you grab those chapter rules PDFs and you just drop it in the documents folder. Forget all of this. I would ignore those. Because we don't need the newsletter for October 8th to our BAP-GPT, I'm gonna delete this. But for the sake of example, we drop it in there and then we go back to source control and we need to commit these changes. So we say new information added and we commit that. You gotta stage it. I always forget to do that. Click this little plus sign. And then we would commit that and then sync those changes, and then that new PDF would be up and available for the BAP-GPT to use. So, I know this has been lengthy. I appreciate you guys sticking through with me. But there you go. If you follow this step by step, you should have your own BAP-GPT functional to be deployed anywhere really. If you want to add it to your Canvas, if you want to send it out in an email to all your candidates and so forth, just take that URL and send it around, and you should be good to go. Thank you guys for following along. This was my first kind of coding tutorial, so I'm sure it was a little scattered, a little scrambled, but if there's any questions, go ahead and leave them in the comments. I will be looking and responding to those for a period of time, and just kind of making sure everybody's getting a functional chatbot up and going. So thank you guys once again, and I will see you at Nationals. Bye. How do I end this thing?